Alright, in this video we're going to talk about Avram's family tree. You can see this handout which I gave out in class in which we spoke about Avram's family background. And let's take a look inside, see what the Psukim tell us. If we look, like it says over here, at the end of Breshit, Perek Yud Aleph, we are told as follows, that Terach, this is going to be the family of Terach. Terach gave birth to Avraham, Nachor, and Haran, three sons. We see that over here. Terach has Avram, Nachor, and Haran. We are further told that Haran died in Terach's lifetime. That's why you see an X over Haran, because the Torah tells us, Vayamot Haran al pnei Terach aviv be'eretz moladato b'ur kasdim. So Haran died in Terach's lifetime while the family was still in their home of Ur Kasdim, which is thought to be in modern-day Iraq. And furthermore, we're told that Avram and Nachor both got married. Avram's wife was Sarai, and Nachor's wife was Milcah. So if we take a look over here, we see, in fact, that Avram is married to Sarai, and Nachor is married to Milcah. Those pink lines are for marriages. We are told, furthermore, regarding the identities of these wives, that who were these people? Nachor's wife Milcah was Bat Haran, the daughter of Haran, who was Avi Milcah Avi Yiska, the daughter of Haran, who was the father of Milcah and the father of Yiska. Now Haran also had a son. We were told earlier that Haran holidat Lod. Haran had a son named Lod. So if we sum that up, we see Haran has three kids: Lod, Milcah, and Yiska. Lod's a boy, Milcah and Yiska are women. Nachor marries his niece Milcah, and Avram marries Sarai. We see later that Avram is also going to adopt Lot. Again, Lot's a male. Haran dies in Terach's lifetime, so these kids are now left without a father. Nachor marries Milcah, so Milcah's taken care of. Her uncle/husband's going to look after her. Lot is taken care of because Avram adopts him. We see this at the end of the parak when we're told that everyone here, including Avram and Lot, they all sort of set out for Eretz Canaan. And at the beginning of Perek Yud Bet, when Avram is told Lech Lecha, to go to the land that Hashem will show him, we're told that Avram goes like Hashem told him, Ve'elech ito Lot. Lot goes with him. V'yikach Avram et Sarai ishto et Lot ben achiv. Avram takes Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his nephew, the son of his brother, with him. So Avraham is going to adopt Lot. But two things here are a little curious. We don't know where Sarai came from. It doesn't say that Avram married Sarai who came from a particular person, the way that it told us with Nachor that Milcah came from Haran. And we never hear again about Yiska. So this makes us a little bit curious. If on the one hand we know nothing about Sarai's background, and on the other hand we know that Haran left behind three kids without a father, Milcah was taken in by Nachor, Lot was taken in by Avraham, well, whatever happened to Yiska? So Rashi cites a solution here from Chazal. This is a widespread view in the Midrash that, where do we see Yiska over here? It says Rashi, Yiska zo Sarah. Yiska is Sarah. Right? The same woman, Yiska, was also known as Sarah. And so when we're told that Avraham married Sarai, he did the same thing Nachor did. Just like Nachor married his niece Milcah, who was left fatherless from Haran, Avraham also married his niece Sarai/Yiska, who also was left fatherless when Haran died. As I mentioned in class, today the idea of an uncle marrying a niece seems kind of gross to us, but in those days it was seen as acceptable and normal, and in this case it would have actually been seen as very admirable that these two orphans, Milcah and Yiska, would have been left without any male figure to look after them since their father died, and so for an uncle to marry them would have been seen as a particularly praiseworthy action. These women would have been very vulnerable otherwise, and it's not so clear that they would have been sort of hot prospects that other men would have been looking to marry necessarily. Their social status would have been hurt by them being fatherless, and so I think Chazal are trying to praise Avram here by saying that just like Nachor, Avram as well looked out for his nieces and nephews. If anything, Avram did more so, because Nachor married a niece. Avraham, according to this interpretation, married a niece, if Yiska is Sarah, and also adopted his nephew Lot. However, one could question this. One could say, wait a minute, why are there two different names, Sarah and Yiscah, if they're really the same person? And Ibn Ezra basically questions this. Ibn Ezra over here says, here we go. Kadmonenu amru Yiscah is Sarah. Our early sages, the Chachamim, said that Yiscah is Sarah. This comes from the Gemara, which Rashi quoted. Ve'im b'divrei Kabbalah nekabel. If this is a matter of Kabbalah, Kabbalah here doesn't mean like mysticism. Kabbalah here means a tradition. It's in Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai, a tradition that we received from Moshe. If this is what we received from Moshe, that Yiscah is Sarah, then fine, I'll accept it. What he's subtly hinting at here is that if this isn't just a tradition, if this was, the personal opinion of a rabbi in the Talmud, then I, Ibn Ezra, have my own opinion. I don't think Yiscah really is Sarah. Now, part of what is at stake here is how to understand why the Torah seems to keep repeating everyone's background here. If I say that Yiscah is Sarah, I understand why the Torah said here that Nachor's wife is Milcah, who was the daughter of Haran, who is the father of Milcah, and the father of Yiscah. That seems very repetitive, right? If Milcah is the daughter of Haran, isn't it obvious that Haran is the father of Milcah? Like, why do you keep repeating that? So I understand if I think that Yiscah is Sarah, right, this gray line that I put a question mark on, if that's true, that Yiscah is Sarah, the Torah is repeating this to stress that it's not a coincidence that Avraham and Nachor married their nieces. They married them specifically because Haran was the father of Milcah and the father of Yiscah, who is Sarah, and that's why both Avraham and Nachor married these women. But according to Ibn Ezra, it seems a little strange that the Torah is making such a big deal over exactly who Haran's daughters were. Is it so important to know who Nachor married? Does that really matter so much? Is it so important to know... Excuse me, let's get the picture back. Is it so important to know who Nachor's wife is? If Yiscah is not Sarah, so tell me about Yiscah, it doesn't tell me anything about who Avraham married. So why do I care who Nachor married so much? So Ibn Ezra says, even if Yiscah is not Sarah, I still care about this. Hizkir Shem Eshet Nachor. The Torah had to tell us the name of Nachor's wife, and really the background of Nachor's wife. L'hodia Yichus Rivka Rachel V'Leah. We have to know the Yichus, the family background of our later matriarchs, our later imahot, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. Right, later in the Torah is going to make a big deal about the fact that Avraham wants Yitzchak to marry someone from their family and not someone from Canaan. Yitzchak is going to want Yaakov to marry people from their extended family, right, namely Rachel and Leah, and not someone from Canaan. So eventually it's going to be very important to the rest of Breshit to understand that Nachor's family is the family of really both Nachor and Haran, because Nachor's wife is Haran's daughter, and so all of Nachor's descendants are related to Avraham through Haran and through Nachor. I'd even add to that, perhaps, that the fact that Nachor is married to Milcah tells us something positive about Nachor. I mean, why is it so important to marry into this family as opposed to marrying the daughters of Canaan? I get that the people in Canaan are bad people who worship idols, but, Nachor also worships idols, right? Why is he any better? So at least here we see something nice about Nachor, that maybe he's an idol worshiper, but at least he cared enough about his niece that after she lost her father young, he took her in and married her. And so that maybe gives us some hint as to why it is that it's so important to the Avot to marry into that family, to have their kids marry Rivka and Rachel and Leah, as opposed to the daughters of Canaan. And so again, just to sum up this part of our video, if I say that Sarah is Yiscah, then I understand that the Torah is making a big deal about who Haran's daughters were. It repeats that Haran was Milcah's father and Yiscah's father, because it's trying to tell us that Avraham took in Lot, his nephew, and Yiscah, his niece, by adopting Lot and marrying Sarai, who is Yiscah. If, on the other hand, I hold like Ibn Ezra, what Ibn Ezra says is the simple meaning, if not for this tradition, that Yiscah is not Sarai, and therefore we don't know anything else about Yiscah. So why is the Torah telling me all about Haran's descendants and all about Nachor's marriage? What do I care about that if it doesn't relate to Avraham directly? If the only thing that matters for Avraham is Haran's son Lot that Avraham adopted. So Ibn Ezra says, I do care about Haran's daughters also, because the fact that Nachor married one of them, the fact that Nachor married Milcah, sets the stage for this family that looks out for each other when Nahor takes in Milcah, which then becomes the family that Avraham and Yitzchak are going to later want their kids to marry into. And so Avraham is going to seek a wife from this marriage. Right? Nahor and Milcah have a kid named Betuel, who has a daughter named Rivka. Rivka is their granddaughter, and that's who Avraham wants Yitzchak to marry. And then their great-granddaughters are going to be Rachel and Leah. That's who Yitzchak is going to want Yaakov to marry. And so the Torah has to tell us now all about Milcah marrying Nahor and how they came from Haran as well, so that I understand the family dynamic of this family that Yitzchak and Yaakov are eventually going to marry into. Moving along in our discussion, once we understand the background of Avram's family tree, we further wanted to know what is it about the beginning of the next parak Yud Bet, that seems to contradict or conflict with what we're told in this original family tree. So when the Torah lays out this family tree, it tells us about Sarah, but the Sarai Akara in Lavalad. Sarai was a barren woman who had no kids. So it sounds like Avraham has no kids of his own. Maybe that's part of why he's so willing to take in his nephew Lot, right? He has no children, but at least he can adopt his nephew and raise his nephew like a son. But then in the beginning of Perek Yud Bet, Hashem appears to Avraham. He says, go to the land that I'm going to show you. I'm going to make you into a great nation. That had to sound very strange to Avraham. What do you mean you're going to make me into a great nation? How can you make me into a great nation if my wife Sarai is a barren woman who's not capable of having children? How am I going to be a great nation if I have no kids? And we suggested that perhaps initially Avraham thought the way to fulfill this nevuah was through his nephew Lot. After all, if Lot is not really Avram's son, but Lot is an adopted nephew, right? We use a different color here. It's a different type of relationship. If Lot is Avram's nephew, but Avram's adopting him like a son, so Avram may say, look, I know my wife Sarai is not capable of having any kids, but it's okay. The way Hashem's going to make me a great nation is I'm going to raise my nephew Lot as if he were my own son, and through that, I'm going to feel that Lot's kids are like my grandkids, and eventually they're going to become a great nation. And we know Avram was a shepherd. He's going to raise Lot. He's going to train Lot to be a shepherd as well, and in that way, he's going to feel perhaps like like Lot is like his own son, and Lot's descendants are going to be his great nation. However, we find the opposite happens, that as Avram raises Lot, as Lot grows into adulthood, he's trained to become a shepherd like Avraham, he also has tons of sheep and cattle, and a fight breaks out. A fight breaks out between them in Perek Yud Gimel. This is the next source on this sheet, question number 3 in Perek Yud Gimel. A fight breaks out between them, and Avram doesn't want to fight with Lot, and so he says, you know what, if we can't get along, let's go our separate ways. Right? If you go left, I'll go right. If you go right, I'll go left. And so Lot famously moves to Sodom, and now Lot is an adult with his own sheep and cattle, and he's gone his own way. At this point, as they break up with each other, God appears to Avraham, Acharei hipared Lot me'ima. Right after Lot is separated from him, at that point, God says to Avraham, look around, I'm going to give you all this land. And your descendants are going to be like the dust of the earth, that nobody can count. Now, I asked you guys, why is it so important for God to tell us to Avraham, Acharei hipared Lot me'ima, right after he breaks up with Lot? And we suggested that precisely because of what we said before, that Avraham maybe thinks the way he's going to be a great nation is through his adopted nephew Lot, that now he's in a crisis when Lot leaves him, right? How's he going to be a great nation now? And so Hashem has to say to him, no, you got it all wrong. You're not going to be a great nation by adopting Lot and raising Lot as if he's your kid. You're going to have your own kid, your own biological kid. And this brings us to where we're going to pick up now, where in Perek Tet Vav, Avraham is finally kind of speaking out against God. In Perek Tet Vav, Avraham famously says, Hey, God, I don't understand. You're promising me all this, but I don't have any kids. And we understand why he's saying this now, because he lost Lot, he has no biological kid, and that's going to set the stage for marrying Hagar.